Well, hello. That's me again, and today is May 10th, 2022. And I want to talk today about fun stuff. And the fun stuff is, of course, doing a little bit of the debunking and, pardon me, ass kicking in terms of the fakes which literally flooded the media space in the United States, and it goes all over the place, from US generals and admirals spewing bullshit and to what have you, the journalists. And there is a reason for that, obviously. It's almost now the, how to say it, function, if you wish, that the better things are going in Ukraine for Russia, the more hysteria is being spread around by Pentagon and so-called intelligence community of the United States and the UK. Well, I would say that those intelligence communities has to really concentrate on how to kill their Skripal cats, and how properly spread the Novichok, quote unquote, and pretty much avoid, going into the business of doing the assessments, because I am on the record and I can support it and justify it easily. And I wrote a number of books on that, and I will write another one that basically they don't know what strategic assessment is. A real strategic assessment, obviously. So not this PR BS which is fed to the members of Congress and to the public through media, and which is presented as some kind of that labor of intellect. It really is not. And enough to look at the state of the Western world and the way the United States lost its all wars in the last 20 years, and so you will know the quality, quote unquote, of this assessment. But let's start with the things which really we need to address a little bit. As you already know, probably, the Russian Ministry of Defense officially is on the record, apart from other people, that this idiot Zelensky basically wanted to, spoil the celebration of May 9th for Russia, and allegedly he ordered, and Pentagon aides, Pentagon and British military advisors planned or designed the plan of this operation on Zmeinnyi, which of course ended up into not only PR but also military catastrophe. At a tactical level, though, let's not overestimate those things. They are tactical in many respects, although they pursue maybe operational objectives. But what I'm saying is that basically VSU lost a truckload of aircraft and a lot of people killed. As the Russian Ministry of Defense reports today, there are still 27 corpses on the not shores, they are like beaches, basically, of the Zmeinnyi Island, which is primarily kind of lifted above the sea level. And yeah, they will try probably made another attempt to take it, and they will be again, will have their ass kicked, and with the consequences, horrendous consequences for material and personnel. But hey, and that's the whole thing. For some reason, in the last 40 years, and you already know, I spoke about it, from George H. Walker Bush, the Bush Senior, who declared the New World Order after basically the United States, with the support of the primarily international community and the Soviet Union, by the way, demolished the third-rate Iraqi army, which for some reason they presented as some kind of utter, incredible force, to obviously Obama's idiotic that the United States has the finest fighting force in history, which is like, how's that? How is finest fighting force in history loses its wars? This is really like complete cognitive dissonance, but this is how actually current US, so to speak, military science and US military experts operate. For example, if you lose, you win. If you, for example, like in Vietnam, you lose 10,000 aircraft, look it up, its data, among them 7,500 helos and 2,500 combat aircraft ranging from B-52 strategic bombers to F-1 what have you, F-4 Phantoms to Super Sabres to number of the combat aircraft, and they call it like greatest air force in the world. I mean, you have to kind of ask yourself a question: what is going on? The same thing is, for example, like United States always declares itself as indeed the greatest air force ever existed. For those people who don't know, they better go into the historic records, which are really readily available, and they look up actually the size and number of sorties Red Air Force flew by the end of the war in 1945. It was the largest and by far tactical operational air force in the world. And I mean by far, and it was much larger than even the US Air Force. And of course we knew the result of this, which United States Air Force doesn't like to talk about, and they play with the statistics. It's of course Korean War. Granted, not started by the United States, but it was obviously when taken in the separation, is the combat score between the 64th Separate Corps, headed by three-times hero of the Soviet Union, Kozyudup, and US aces, including the MiG-15s against Sabres. This is not nice statistics, actually, and that's basically what it has everything to do with the quality of the pilots and how they flew. And of course, don't forget, it was the Red Air Force which wiped off the skies the creme de la creme of the Luftwaffe from 1941 to 1943, which was finished off in terms of the best cadres being annihilated already over Kuban in 1943. But I'm kind of digress a little bit here, but still, since we go about it in depth, so to speak, today, so let's take a look at some really wonderful things and butthurt and sore people being sore losers. And I will start today with this interesting thingy. Let me find this thingy here. And it's going to be New York Times, as a matter of fact, so it's written, you won't believe by who. It's written by the guy with the name of John Zmeinnyi, the First Lord, the father of NATO, one of, first Secretary General, who was known to say that, NATO really exists for, keeping Russians out, Germans down, and United States in. So New York Times today, May 10th. Here it is. John Zmeinnyi himself actually is a graduate of U.S. Naval Academy, and all this, rah-rah about, oh yeah, he was, deployed in Iraq, and he was doing this, and he reported on SEAL Team 6 and all that. So yeah, so the guy he saw how, basically you demolish the defenseless people, and he is professional in it. Okay, so, and here's the article. But what is very interesting about this article is, of course, yet another bullshit, basically, and it's butthurt. It's about how Russian guided weapons miss the mark, U.S. defense officials say. First, as I already stated, most of those U.S. Defense officials, the reason they are unnamed, because most of the time they are not really defense officials, they are made up shit by U.S. journalists themselves, or people just spewed and, channel their bullshit, butthurt, being sore losers. And fact is that actually, not only Russian guided weapons actually performed quite well in Ukraine, there are guided weapons the United States simply doesn't have and not going to have in a long time. And that brings us back to this Zmeinnyi Island thing, and what many people do not understand, that Zmeinnyi Island adventurism, planned by in Pentagon and in UK, is a great demonstration of it. And it's not a rumor, it's the fact, and which was confirmed by the Russian Defense Ministry. You can look it up even on YouTube. During this so-called operation, which was obviously a PR action, and they thought that oh yeah, we're going to land and take Zmeinnyi and do this PR coup while Russians will be celebrating on May 9th. The fact was that Russians were not launching at their pre-deployment areas, and we're not killing and destroying all those aircraft and material and manpower, not only on Zmeinnyi, where it was just the part of the action, but also in the areas near Odessa, it was done not by classic 3M14 calibers, which, by the way, are extremely accurate. No, it was done by, if you looked attentively, and you also can see it in the videos, and you can see it in the reports of Russian Defense Ministry, it was done by P-800 Onyx. And I don't know what kind of modification of Onyx it is. I mean, original, kind of baseline Onyx is 660 official, probably around 1,000 kilometers long-range anti-shipping missile, but there is one thing in there which, yes, that's where the butt hurt and being sore loser begins. United States doesn't have anything like this, and let's be very clear about it. Onyx flies with the speeds of up to Mach 3. And yeah, unlike any subsonic US clamps, Justins, what have you, that thing is high supersonic. And yeah, I assume that it's probably going to be even higher than that, but again, it's my speculation, don't quote me on that. But Onyx, actually, if you use the same disylene, which is the high impulse fuel, which is used in zircon probably, you're going to greatly expand both the range and speed of the Onyx. And so suddenly those ranges of 200 kilometers, let's say, which you would fly, for under some, many minutes, put it this way, let's say 20 minutes, you will be covering in a much higher speed, and it's much faster. What it means, tactically, it means you have a much shorter warning time, and you have much shorter time to do anything at all. To save yourself, to try to remove the equipment, and things of this nature. And that is why Russians were using Onyx. And that's why there was a just massive amount of material, hardware, which have been destroyed, both in the process and in the preparation on the yet another assault. There were several waves of it at the Zmeinnyi Island prior to the May 9th. So, and here it is. That's the it's a PR disaster for both Zelensky and for people who planned it. And of course, Pentagon loves to brag about how great they are. They are not that great, honestly, guys. They fought all their lives with the small fish. Here they have to deal with this, that even their plans are not that good. But whatever, greatest fighting force of the history. Yeah. So Greeks, and Napoleon might have something about this. Zhukov also might have some issues with that. But then comes this really interesting other thing about this whole situation. 200 to 300 sorties per day, says a senior Defense Department official. Russian Air Force flies, but still cannot get their air superiority over Ukraine. I wonder how he get this information. But hey, you know what? Again, in the world of the 1984, where war is peace and losing is being the greatest fighting force in the world and in the history, it's totally normal. So, but let me put it this way. Let's calculate, let's say, upper range of the Russian Air Force sorties. Today we're looking at about, 65 days of the operation. So if they say they fly, let's say, 300 sorties each day, then you would say that, we're looking at 300 multiplied by, 65, isn't it? So we're looking at 19,500 sorties flown so far. Well, I think so. The sorties per day were actually more than that, but I'm not going to be discussing it. But hey, look at this. just give you, even if to admit those numbers, and Pentagon, and believe me, intelligence community, for all their ISR, for all their satellites, they still do not know the real number. They don't even know the real number of what they love to call battalion tactical groups there, because, and I already stated, Russians are not admirers of US strategic assessment and strategic intelligence. It's really not that good. But point is that probably the number of sorties is probably slightly higher than that, but let's say this, let's round it up and say that Russians flew 20,000 sorties in the last 60 to 65 days. Well, why don't we compare? It is all about comparison. It's like I told you, if you look at the Vietnam sorties and how many United States lost in Vietnam, 10,000 aircraft, 2,500 of them fixed wing. So let's take a look. What can we see here in terms of comparison? We're gonna go to none other than Operation Iraqi Freedom by the Numbers Assessment and Analysis Division of Pentagon, compiled under the guidance of Michael Mosley, Lieutenant General, United States Air Force Commander at that time. Here it is. I didn't invent this. And let's take a look what happened with, for example, sorties in terms of this whole Iraqi freedom. Really, Iraqi freedom, it's just like operation, which lasted basically 42 days. Throughout the whole 42 days, the United States flew, as you can see yourself, I mean, the whole coalition, I believe, actually, is, as you can see yourself, it's just a part of the list. If you go on the next page, you will see that there are all kinds of aircraft, including, U.S. Marine Corps and, U.S. Navy and all that stuff, flying there. Total sorties flown was 41,000. Well, roughly 1,000 sorties a day. Let me give you some comparison for you to have an idea what is going on there, because you obviously have to know this. It's like, it's better to compare. It was flying in the airspace which wasn't challenged at all. And fact is, the same Iraq never had anything, even as the earlier versions of S-300. Or even older versions of S-300V, which Ukraine had plenty. United States Air Force, after Vietnam, never fought in any air defense environment like Russians fight in Ukraine. And that is why the United States was so desperate to deliver another S-300s from new NATO countries to Ukraine. Well, they're still being destroyed. But let me tell you, it is one thing to destroy stationary S-75 or old Asa-M air defense complex. Totally another is finding and basically knowing about the air defense ambushes by something like Book M1 and S-300. And obviously, when this guy, for example, this Zmeinnyi guy from US Naval Academy, whatever his officer rank, want to talk about it, we can talk about it, and I will explain to him actually what a major difference it all makes. But United States doesn't have any experience of fighting against S-300 in any modification, and that is why, if you remember the gang rape of Yugoslavia by NATO in 1999, recall that what a scandal and panic was in US media, and including up to the Mr. Clinton declaring that Russia better not do that, when Russia said we still can deliver one or two sets or kits of S-300 to Yugoslavia. That was a shitstorm. So there you go. I wonder why they were doing this. I wonder why they were so worried. Well, so in this particular case, it's like, again, it's you have those kids, from kindergarten kids explaining that, oh, we just kick another kindergarten kid. No, guys, you're trying to explain to the big guy who actually dealt with the issues of air defense, not only developed the best air defense in the world, but actually had to contend with it and deal with it, which United States never dealt with. And this is not to mention the fact that Russia operates, as I already stated, something which United States doesn't have and not going to have anytime soon. Russia operates both high supersonic, Mach 3, and probably higher than that. Hermes weapons are flying in the excess of Mach 4.2. And of course, hypersonic weapons such as Kinjal. So there you go. And Kinjal was used in Odessa 2 days ago. So talking about this is just really ridiculous. I mean, how do you even explain to people that, guys, this is completely different paradigm? You want comparison? Yeah, let's compare. And believe me, the Pentagon doesn't want comparison, as it doesn't want comparison of the World War II, as it doesn't want comparison any kind of the wars in the 20th century. Because what Russia was fighting, and by the way, winning, or not losing at least. And if you look at the Russian record in after 2000, what do you have? You have pacification of Chechnya. You have demolition in 72 hours, this best at that time proxy of NATO and the United States Georgian army. You have the issue of Syria, of course, which is a major geopolitical coup and major military victory for Russia, which cannot, I mean, doesn't allow many people in Pentagon sleep calmly. And the same is in CIA and in London. And then, of course, you have now this situation, which Russia demolishes, actually the best proxy Pentagon ever had. And evidently, we're not talking about only Russia demolishing those forces, and basically about 10,000 to 15,000, depending on the estimates. Cauldron is forming near Lysychansk and Severodonetsk today. But we are talking about the fact that American weapons perform piss poor on real battlefield, and it is not the words of Russians, it's these are the words of Ukrainians themselves. And the question is not just the javelins, as greatly respected by me, Scott Ritter says that, oh my gosh, the batteries are old, the warheads are old. Yeah, there is that factor too, but the point is, even when they work, they do not work. Really, javelins was a complete both technological and PR disaster. So goes Stinger. This wonder weapon, Russian Air Force flies, and flies all the time, it flies every day, and it shoots down both remaining of the Ukrainian aircraft and bombs the shit out of Ukrainian forces. And that brings us to this really unpleasant moment for the Pentagon again, and all those, PR people in the United States who you can almost feel them hurting. You can see how desperate they are. But my good friend Larry Johnson, and he is the old generation of people, old generation of American intel people, old CIA, old people who actually could spy, could analyze, and could figure things out. He also wrote a wonderful piece, and in his blog, I will leave it, the hyperlink underneath below this video, is the fact about that how VSU is crumbling right now, and you won't believe what is happening. The video streams, which of course YouTube tries to ban immediately, the number of corpses Russians collect is staggering. And it's not just the corpses of the VSU, but Nazis, and it's the fact that even basically most of units now, they either have their commanders already taken prisoners, number of brigade commanders are already in Russian, custody, so to speak. But we're talking about people being literally abandoned without any command and control. Well, it's obviously jammed, and officers, basically Ukrainian officers escaping or running away, and Larry has this wonderful article, and there are some videos there which is not for the faint-hearted, because again, the number of the abandoned corpses by VSU is, Russians have now special teams basically, and when I say Russians, I mean also LDNR, obviously, which does a bulk of ground fighting. They're collecting those corpses and just basically bury them as best as they can. I mean, some of those people are not even known. I mean, and we're talking about thousands people, thousands. And the issue of the POWs is obviously totally another thing. So, and that's that. But if you think how that whole bullshit, butthurt, fakes continue to propagate. Here's the last example about the fake. You see this? And this is the video which by the May 9th, when I actually copied it, collected, as you can see yourself, almost 500,000 views, and there were 630 comments and thousands of likes, and it's about, oh my god, so great, look how this Ukrainian Navy, you know, and NATO, with help of NATO, just, you know, attacked Russian nuclear submarine in the Black Sea. And the immediate question is, apart from the fact that it's completely, you know, illiterate, the headline itself is illiterate. Believe me, I know Black Sea Fleet really well, from its Marine Corps, I mean, not Marine Corps, but Naval Infantry, to basically 30th Division, to 69th Brigade. You know, I've been there all on all ships, including the sunk Slava, which is Moskva, and many other things, including submarines. In fact, our family was really friendly with the commander of the submarines brigade there. So it's kind of a long story. We knew, my father knew actually Admiral Sasoyev, and I'm not going to be going there. And I spent my naval cadet practices primarily on the ships and subs of the Black Sea Fleet. Most of them, not all of them. So ranging from the artillery cruisers to large anti-submarine warfare ships and small anti-submarine warfare ships. But the fact is, not in my 60 years heard I heard about any nuclear submarine in the Black Sea. Because they don't exist and never existed there. They are forbidden there, not only by Montreal Convention, but the fact is, I mean, how are you going to maintain it there? So there never was over any nuclear sub, except one thing. I will explain it in the other segments, which in the other videos, which I'm going to be making, is the fact that, guys, only diesel submarines are allowed in the Black Sea, and that's what Soviet and Russian Navy always had. Never any nuclear submarine ventured into the Black Sea because it wouldn't be allowed by Turkey. It was forbidden. And fact is, why would you need a nuclear submarine there to start with? And obviously in Soviet times, Russia had its 5th operational squadron, Mediterranean squadron, and they actually primarily nukes which were going into the Med were going from the Northern Fleet. Well, not only nukes, there were also diesels which were going there. So Russia has only and always operated only diesel submarines, and the fact that Ukrainians can attack nuclear sub, I mean, do they even have any means to attack any sub, diesel sub, or especially of the latest versions of extremely quiet, extremely low physical fields, those latest Russian, based in Novorossiysk, Project 636 subs, Ukraine simply doesn't have any basic means to attack anything, let alone detect it. So, yeah, you theoretically can run either P-8 Poseidon near the territorial waters of Russia and try to, you know, perform some kind of search. But again, for people who do not understand how the search is done and what is the real ASW, believe me, I will not now, you know, basically disclose to you any kind of sacred truth, but the fact is, it's a lot of math and a lot of sensors, from non-acoustic sensors to what have you, from gravidometers to magnetic anomaly detection. And fact is, actually, American P-8 Poseidons do not carry MADs anymore. They want to do it with the, what's the name of it, with the drones. Good luck with that. Indians who bought P-8 Poseidon, they have MAD there. They still have, the same as good old and very respectable, and Russians respect it very much, P-3 Orions. They have MAD. You have this, you see this boom, you know, in the empennage, you know, whatever, protruding there. That's MAD, magnetic anomaly detector. But fact is, there is another thing which people don't understand. U.S. Navy and P-3 Orions or P-8 Poseidons will not be able to conduct a real search against Russian submarines because in Black Sea fleet, because they will need, in order to conduct the search, to lower themselves. I mean, significantly low. Sometimes below 1 kilometer, very often below 500 meters. Well, guess what? They obviously shine as the Christmas tree on any radar along the shoreline of Russia there. And anybody who tries to really do the search, aerial search of Russian subs in the Black Sea fleet, they will have, even in the peacetime, one of the Su-30 SMs by the Black Sea Fleet, following them and telling them to pretty much get the hell out of there. So, but yes, here it is. That's your classic fake news. And you have, at that time it was 630, I'm pretty sure now it's by 1,000, more than 1,000 comments, and people just, peeing themselves from, like, oh my God, look at this, Ukrainians attack Russian sub, nuclear sub. And of course the whole video, which is complete bullshit, it shows for some reason Project 885 Severodvinsk, Yasin class, latest SSG and arguably the greatest sub, cruise missile sub in history, and how Ukraine can even attack? Well, they certainly are free to go to, North Atlantic. They don't have capability, but other than that, I mean, so, and you can see yourself, this is the sheer idiocy which is being spread here in the West, and people believe this bullshit. It's UKIP propaganda. Pentagon also spread this, and fact is, again, I know there are some people who know the score, but most of what Pentagon presents is basically it's the leakage, so to speak, of some unnamed officials who project their inner butthurt, and that's what it is. And say, hey guys, just calm down, sit and relax, and just watch and learn how real war is fought, especially under conditions and which are happening right now. So, and then of course there is another issue, and that is kind of another, not just a rumor. It is so stupid, I cannot even, I don't even know how to comment on it. Sadly, again, respected by me, Scott Ritter even fell for this, but this of course BS propagated by the people from Bellingcat, which is MI6, so it's the fact that, oh my gosh, Russians were not expecting this resistance, and they didn't know how not brainwashed, I mean how patriotic Ukrainians were, and because of that Putin fired 150 people from this 5th Directorate, of FSB, which was created for sort of, spying on the former Soviet Union. You know what, when you lie, you have to lie professionally, really. You have to at least, say like, yeah, he fired the head of the department and then, it's like a couple of deputies. Do you understand what 150 people is in the state security or intelligence community? It means beheading the goddamn department, if such a department really was functional and if any firings ever existed or happened. It's like literally just destroying the goddamn organization. Yeah, there are purges. There are sometimes, in Stalin's times they say they all were killed. Not all of them were killed. Some of them were persecuted. Others were shot, but many of them actually deservedly so. But point is that 150 people just wake up. I mean, it's like literally, can you imagine the counter-terrorist department and, let's say, FBI? Can you imagine just throwing out 150 top people from this goddamn department? Have you ever thought about the number? It's basically killing the goddamn whole system. You will have basically some network of the informants, some network of the spies, so to speak, on the ground, who will not be controlled by anybody, who will not have any communications, but people don't understand. They don't have the sense of scale. And Bellingcat, spreads this bullshit, apart from obviously making up the premise itself, which is complete bullshit about, and I spoke about this in my last video, that Russians haven't been prepared or didn't anticipate. Yeah, sure. I mean, Russians are so stupid they didn't have the intel on the goddamn Ukraine. But it's, you see, that was the thing which I wanted to talk about today, that this continues to be the case. And it will continue to be the case because obviously we have a pronounced and very well-defined trend now of the acceleration, that rate of change, that first derivative, you know, of the crumbling of not just defenses, but the whole implosion of the structure of Ukraine as the state, and of course what's left of its armed forces. And of course, if the events about the Popasna and this cauldron forming around Lysychansk and Severodonetsk, and probably going to be closed very soon. I'm not telling you anything. Again, go back and look at the available data now at about the Zmeinnyi adventure. It is a catastrophe, PR catastrophe, and they are reeling from it. And because of that, they spread this BS, trying to control the narrative, trying to, you know, keep the attention of many people who begin to ask questions away from the real situation. And as I already stated, go to Larry Johnson's wonderful blog and look at what he's saying, and he collects data. Well, that's your CIA professional, and see for yourself what is happening there. The military catastrophe of the VSU is honestly, and as much as I hate Kiev regime, my heart breaks. For there are many people there who do not even want to fight. They literally keep them in the front because they execute those who try to escape. They have this Nazi element there, and obviously right now this whole mobilization again, I don't even remember what wave of mobilization, number of the wave of mobilization, 6th, 7th, I don't know, you guys look it up yourself, I don't even care anymore. In Ukraine, they literally grab people who are absolutely unfit to serve, and they try to throw them at the front lines, where they of course get killed or maimed or taken prisoners. So this is what I wanted to talk to you about today, and I will continue to talk about the issue of Lanchester and how really operations are planned, and what math and what things go in there, and that will be very important in discussing basically what we have been talking about for the last couple of months. But in conclusion, I want to, as always, thank my wonderful sponsors, my wonderful patrons. Without you guys, there would be no ability for me to do anything like this. And obviously, guys, those who can afford, please support me on Patreon, and of course subscribe to my channel. And I'll be talking to you later, guys. Have a wonderful rest of the week for yourself. Bye bye.